This is the Final Word Daily coming to you from Indore, where Bharat has finally got a break. Adam Collins and Daniel Norcross. He's brought Daniel with him back with us while we're getting the sound check of a very Richie Benno 122 122 coming through the PA. It's a warm night in Indore. It's the night before the Test match. You two have just got back into India, and here you are. I mean, we could start there, or we maybe before we get to India, Australia, we should start with the New Zealand-England Test match, because I'm sure you've been glued to that, those results as you've been travelling.
The results, yes, and obviously I've overclubbed it wearing a jumper here, but this is what I was wearing in the freezing cold of London when going to the airport. The more dishevelled version of my hair, and Daniel's been travelling for about 30 hours as well before we had our reunion in Delhi today. And when I got to Delhi about half an hour before he did, I saw that England required 9 runs to win, with Ben Foakes batting with Jack Leach, who'd faced 22 balls without scoring. And at the very back of the plane where I was, I did a quick Google. I'm like, what network is this game on in India? And worked out it was on Amazon Prime. I've got an Amazon subscription. Within seconds, I'm watching, here we are. I'm watching this. How good's this? And watched it all the way out the plane through to the immigration desk, which is when the last wicket fell. Jimmy Anderson, everyone around me is like, unable to comprehend why I was so like, whoa, we were a run away from a tie. I'm not entirely sure they knew it was going to be a tie on television, by the way. The television commentary didn't really talk about a tie. That's a whole other thing.
I was wondering about that too, because you are such an obsessive about the tie.
Yeah.
I thought you would be bitterly disappointed that this was a one-run result.
Yeah.
Because, had the wide been called and then Anderson gets out next ball, it is a tie.
So you landed just afterwards and you would have seen your phone explode?
Yeah, I did see my phone explode, but I mean, I've got to say, this is why baseball is so great, because just when everybody was thinking baseball's getting boring because England are bound to chase down 258 because they can chase down like 400 for 3 in 75 overs, they made sure that Test cricket stayed alive by losing by 1 run. Because, if they won by 1 wicket, it would never have been as much fun as losing by 1 run. I think losing by 1 run is the best. It's a better result than a tie, because actually a tie, I know there have only been a couple of them, but at the end of it, you both feel like, ugh. But if one side wins by 1 run, the euphoria of that 10th wicket, it cannot be matched in a game of cricket. And nice work from England. I thought absolutely superbly done. I was just starting to think, actually, while we were recording this, that you said Bharat has got a rest. And I felt very much like Bharat when he does his podcast with Mel Farrell. It was quite enjoyable, just sitting between the two of you as you were chatting away.
But tell me, how far off the draw were they in that game?
No.
That was never in the equation. So
No.
it was a 3 results on the table sort of thing. And for all of the talk about Brendan McCullum ball, they didn't go about it in that way in the 4th innings. They just batted like normal, sensible people.
Not quite. I mean, they were going at 4s for a lot of the time. So when they were 80 for 5, their response to 80 for 5 was for Root to go Burko, and Stokes to dig in. I mean, Stokes was crocked. I was listening at that point, because that was, let me get this straight, that was when I was in Doha for 3 hours. So I was able to listen to TalkSport 2 via the interweb. And his knee locked on a number of occasions. He was apparently in extreme pain. I think he even let out a whelp at one point, which is very un-Stokesian. So,
me dick.
Yeah.
That's the one he gave out at Lord's a couple of years ago.
That's right.
But Jerry Kimber, a colleague of ours, did make a very good point that while all this was happening, he pointed out that I hadn't really properly considered this with baseball. New Zealand have been the most unlucky recipients of baseball losses, because they lost Colin de Grandhomme in that Lord's Test. Then they lost Kyle Jamieson, partly because they lost Colin de Grandhomme. They didn't have Trent Boult for the first Test here. Then they lost Matt Henry, because what you don't know is he had a back spasm. So literally Wagner, who was on his last legs, could be his last Test match. Everyone was talking about that. So they effectively had only 2 really effective bowlers. Bracewell was okay against the left-handers, but against the right-handers he was getting tonked. So, I think it was fantastic for New Zealand, because England have had quite a lot of good fortune. Now, you remember when they beat India, India insanely chose not to play Ashwin, if you remember. And then against South Africa, when South Africa were 1-0 up, they insanely chose to...
They left out Marco Jansen.
Yeah, left out Marco Jansen. Didn't they choose to bat or something?
They chose to bat first on a green top and didn't pick the bloke that won the Test the week before.
That's right. So, and then Pakistan had none of their bowlers really available. So England had quite a good run of good fortune, and it's come to an end. And it would have been otherwise a clean sweep winter, wouldn't it? It would have been 5 Test wins in winter, but they're pipped by 1 run. So there's still work to be done.
Geoff, moving focus to where we are here at Indore, which is a very charming little boutique stadium, by the way.
It's outdoors, by the way.
I mean,
just in case you're wondering.
Yeah, but you said clean sweep, and they keep telling us cleanest city in India.
As soon as I got to the airport.
First impressions?
Well, the first thing that you see on the wall there is India's cleanest city for the last 6 years running, and that, they're talking a big game, but I like it. And from what we've seen so far, from the cab to the, from the airport to the hotel to the ground, we haven't had a chance to really sort of sink our teeth into it yet. But I can't wait to do that. The ground
is it the same people who do the Tidy Town Awards? When it would be like the birthplace of Shane Crawford would be the big sign, Tidy Town Award winner 2006, 1998, 1993.
Like who opened the Bunnings warehouse is always like a moment in time. I saw our friend and colleague Dylan Leach sent through a photo earlier. He's at a pub in Queensland where on the wall there's a plate signed by Darren Lehman, Jonathan Brown, and my old boss Wayne Swan lined up along the wall there. So if you've got your name signed up on a plate, then there you go. But no, it feels like this is a more boutique style stadium. It's not massive. It's not like Delhi felt big. This doesn't feel gigantic. You feel a bit more on top of the action. And I quite like the fact that our commentary position doesn't have boulders in front of it like we had at Nagpur, and we're not sitting behind the press box like we were at Delhi. So it's an improvement.
Can I just make one observation, which our listeners our viewers and listeners won't be able to see, but I'm looking at 2 seats, both called C233. And they're right next to each other. I can imagine that could cause a problem.
One behind the other,
one is behind the other.
Yeah.
So if they are ticketed to C233, that could cause a terrible ruckus. So if you come to Indore and you get seat 233, C233, be prepared for an argument.
It's good to see that the Pan Bahar people haven't missed out here either. After completely plastering Delhi, they've covered up most of this joint as well, and the Joy e-bike lot. So they're certainly getting the value out of the signage.
And of course, India's -- shaving cream, which we saw last week prominently at Delhi as well.
That is true. That's V John, or if you read Roman, 6 John.
Where's the cement though? This is my first time in India.
Yeah.
It's genuinely my first time in India, and I expected to see a stadium which sells you cement, because that's what every kid coming to the game wants. Daddy, I want cement for Christmas.
Well,
which cement do you want, son? Well, it's either Indian or Ambuja or whichever one it is, but there's no cement.
It's more like native content. If you work in the digital space, you'll know about this. They just build the entire stadium out of cement, and thus it advertises cement by being, just by being here. Can I tell you about training today?
I was going to say, the main thing I'm keen to learn from you is what have you seen at training? Who's likely to play for Australia? And is the KL Rahul Shubman Gill thing that we've been debating the last few days likely to happen?
Well, who knows which way they're going to go on it, but they did, as we spoke about yesterday, have a bat-off side by side, net by net, cheek by cheek, jail by jail. KL Rahul wouldn't stop following Shubman Gill around, just followed him net to net, just psyching him out. Oh, batting well, are you? Batting well, are you, champ? Middling a few, are you? That kind of thing. Today, I'm going to call it here. I think Todd Murphy's out. Didn't bowl a ball today, and he always has a bowl at training.
Okay.
He spent a lot of time talking to Dottermaid, the chief selector. He hung around and threw balls for the training drills, for the close-in catches and whatever. Didn't bowl a delivery. And there was about half an hour of excitement after Steve Smith spoke this morning that they might bring Lance Morris in to barrage the Indians, bombard them with short stuff.
Thing.
Because Smith said something where he said Green coming in means could play the extra batter, could play 3 spinners, or we could go for more airspeed.
Right.
And that meant Morris, right? Morris spent his whole day bowling off spin, mostly to Matthew Renshaw. So I'm going to tip that he is not playing either.
He could be doing as Ollie Robinson did at Adelaide Oval last year. He could be a dual threat.
He could, but he did not bowl a fast delivery.
Could be a triple threat. Sings, dances, acts.
Didn't bowl a fast delivery today. So I think Boland will play because Murphy won't. And I think
that's a good selection. I reckon, my view all day, all week has been Boland is effectively the third spinner.
Yeah.
That works for me because 2 of the 3 spinners they played at Delhi are but pups. Well, I know that Kuhneman's a bit older than Murphy, but he's so young into his first-class career. You're asking a lot of him, opening the bowling as well. I think Boland, I know it won't be for Kuhneman, it'll be for Murphy in the scenario you're positing there, but I think that's quite sound selection. I know it's an extra seamer, and this looks like, from what we saw a moment ago, a pitch is going to be very dry at both ends, but that's fine. Boland's grown up playing on dead tracks at the MCG where he needed to bowl and landed on a Thripney bit all day long, and that's what they'll need again here, building pressure that they couldn't always build at Delhi.
Also, I can't see how you can need 3 spinners when nobody's scoring over 300 runs. I mean, Jack Leach has bowled 61 and a half overs in an innings because England only had 1.5 spinners.
And Akshar Patel's only taken 1 wicket in the series as well.
Right.
Like India's primary spinners are doing the job.
Exactly. So I don't know that the third spinner makes any sense really. But I suppose because Australia wanted someone who was going to take the ball away, you've also got Labuschagne and Smith, who are the worst. I mean, if there
I think Smith's got shaggers back though.
Yeah.
Right, but if there is a partnership, if a partnership happens, then you're going to like Harry Brook did when he got rid of Kane Williamson.
Well,
You
Travis
might
Head's their
throw it in.
go-to now for
And
their
Travis
first
Head.
part-timer.
So you got 3 part-timers.
The triple
What-
off-spin
what-
attack.
Yeah.
And Marnus has been chucking off breaks in the nets. He's been doing a lot of bendy elbow stuff,
Oh,
with the short sleeves on, showing it off. I mean, just legalise it. Legalise chucking. Why not? Let's
Send
stop-
him off to the
let's
University
stop
of
dicking
Western
around.
Australia and get him with all the dots all over his arm. That's what I say.
Let's just make it. If you're going under 100 k's an hour, you should be able to bend the elbow all you want. That's all. That's what I say.
Yeah, so chucking should be allowed up to a speed.
Yes.
Like that.
Speaking of bending the elbow, we should. Well, I'm not saying we're going to get on it tonight necessarily, but I do need a cold refreshment. I do need to just go over the beautiful commentary box that Bharat's prepared for us next to yours, Geoff. The ABC and SEN side by side again this week. We're going to be making this program every night of the Test match. We won't be inside the ground. We'll be on the street somewhere doing it with the ground behind us. And let's hope it's a test that goes beyond 3 days this time. I mean, I'm not expecting great things from the Aussie team, I must say, but marginal gains. And they're going to have to win. They're going to have to win one of these last 2. I've just got a feeling that if they're relying on Sri Lanka and New Zealand to break the way they want it to break in a month or so from now, if destiny leaves their own hands when it comes to the WTC, that never ends well.
That's right. Watch out for your overrate in the World Test Championship. A little note for Australia there. Okay, this has been the Final Word Daily. The day before the Indore Test match, Geoff Lemon, Adam Collins and Daniel Norcross lobbing in to join us as well. We'll be there and thereabouts throughout the Test match, and we'll see you then.
Bye.
Like